Jamaica, our relationship with the United States is one of the most important relationships we have. It is a geopolitical reality, and it is against that reality that Jamaicans must evaluate the recent reports that Jamaica will receive deportees from third countries in increments under arrangements being coordinated with the United States. But you know what? The moment many Jamaicans heard the news, panic spread, alarm bells go off, diaspora groups became alarmed. People immediately imagined plane loads of hardened criminals arriving in Jamaica from every corner of the world. Some even concluded that Jamaica was being used as a dumping ground. But, friends, before we allow fear to drive this discussion, perhaps we should ask a more important question. What exactly is happening here? Because if we are being honest, the issue is much bigger than politics. It is more so about diplomacy. It is about geopolitics. It is about migration management. And of course, it is about Jamaica's place in a rapidly changing world. Let us start with a simple fact. Jamaica is not the first country to enter migration cooperation arrangements with the United States. Not even close. Across the Caribbean and Latin America, governments of different political parties and different ideologies have worked closely with Washington on migration enforcement, refugee processing, repatriation programs, and deportation agreements. Countries such as the Bahamas, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, the Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Panama, and others have all participated in various forms of migration cooperation with the United States over the years. Why do they do that? Because every government eventually learns the same lesson. You cannot demand the benefits of a strategic partnership while refusing all of the responsibilities that come with it. We're only 600 miles away from America's shores. And the benefits of the Jamaica-United States relationship are enormous. Hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds of thousands, there's over 1 million Jamaicans in the United States, living, working, studying, and building businesses. Billions of dollars in remittances flow back into Jamaica. The United States remains one of Jamaica's largest trading partners. American tourists fill our hotels. American investors support Jamaican businesses. American Security Corporation helps combat transnational crime and drug trafficking. So, whether we like it or not, our prosperity is tied to maintaining strong diplomatic relationships with Washington. Now, this does not mean that Jamaica should accept every request, without questions. But what it does mean is that responsible governments understand that international relationships involve negotiation, compromise, and cooperation, plain and simple. And so this is where the debate becomes interesting. Because when I listen to the debates, some critics are presenting this issue as though Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Minister Horace Chang have suddenly invented a radical new policy. And that is not true. Not true at all. Governments of every political stripe have cooperated with deportation and repatriation programs, including governments led by the People's National Party, our current opposition. In fact, if the PNP were in office today and faced similar diplomatic realities, they would do the same. Because once politicians move from opposition into Jamaica House, and they discover something remarkable. The remarkable thing that they discover is that the world is far more complicated than a campaign speech or campaign speeches. National security briefings replace political slogans, and diplomatic obligations replace political theater. And governing becomes very different from criticizing. Oh, it's easy to criticize, very hard to govern. That is why this issue should not be viewed through a green versus orange lens. It should be viewed through the lens of national interest. Now, let us address the concern that many Jamaicans genuinely have. What are the risks? And there are risks. Any honest discussion must acknowledge them. Now, if individuals with serious criminal backgrounds arrive without proper screening, there are potential security concerns. If there is reintegration systems that are weak, then social challenges can emerge. If information is not communicated clearly to the public, fear and misinformation can spread rapidly. These concerns, my friends, are legitimate. And, we should get answers, and the government must be transparent. The fact of the matter is that, however you look at it, we have to look at what safeguards are in place. Trust is built through information. And so while we acknowledge risks, we shouldn't be assuming that this is a disaster. Because history tells us something important. Many countries that cooperate closely with the United States on migration and security issues often receive significant strategic benefits in return. Now, some of those benefits are not necessarily, dollars being rolled out. Enhanced security assistance, intelligence sharing, border management, support, training opportunities, economic cooperation development, partnerships. All of these are benefits that governments get from, diplomacy and working in tandem together. The fact of the matter is that increasingly relationships are transactional. Countries that are viewed as reliable partners often gain access to opportunities that others do not. This is not about idealism. It is geopolitics. And geopolitics rewards cooperation. And that may explain why Prime Minister Holness and Minister Chang appear to be approaching this issue with caution, rather with confrontation, as some of us would prefer. Some people mistake diplomacy for weakness. But experienced leaders understand that diplomacy is often strength exercised quietly. There are moments when a government must know when to stand firm. No doubt about that. Conversely, there are also moments when a government must know how to negotiate constructively. And the evidence suggests that the current administration is trying to manage a difficult issue while preserving one of Jamaica's most valuable international relationships. Now, that does not mean that every decision will be popular. But what it means is that governing requires balancing competing interests: national security, economic stability, international partnerships, public confidence. Government has to do that all at the same time. And that balancing act is never easy. And so the larger question for Jamaicans is this: what kind of country do we want Jamaica to be? A country that isolates itself, or a country that actively participates in regional and international solutions? Because migration is no longer just an American problem. It is for us anyway, it is a regional challenge. The Caribbean is facing unprecedented migration pressures. The United States is facing unprecedented migration pressures. If you look around the world further away from us, from our shores, Europe is facing unprecedented migration pressures. Just about every nation, I may say, is searching for solutions. And increasingly, those solutions require what? International cooperation. Jamaica is always at the forefront of operating with other countries. Jamaica cannot expect to benefit from global partnerships while refusing to participate in global responsibilities, little as we are. The truth is that the public conversation needs less panic and more facts, less fear and more analysis. Oh, I wish we'd do more analysis on everything. Less political point scoring and more strategic thinking. Reasonable people can disagree about the details of this arrangement or that agreement and so on. Reasonable people can demand transparency. Reasonable people can insist on strong security safeguards. Nothing wrong with that. But what we should not do is pretend that Jamaica is somehow entering into unexplored, uncharted, as it were, territory. Many nations have walked this path before. Many governments, including those led by parties across the political spectrum, have engaged in similar forms of cooperation. This is not a one-way street, my friends. The real question is not whether Jamaica should cooperate. The real question is whether Jamaica can do so while protecting its citizens, safeguarding its national interests, and strengthening its international position. That is the challenge facing Prime Minister Holness. That is the challenge facing Minister Chang. And ultimately, that is the challenge facing Jamaica. Because in a world where diplomacy matters, where partnerships matter, and where geopolitical realities cannot be just wished away, the smartest nations are often not the loudest nations. They are the nations that understand how to turn cooperation into opportunity. Jamaica, we do need to talk, not with fear, not with hysteria. So let me leave you with this thought. If Jamaica was being asked to accept thousands of people overnight, I would understand the panic. If Jamaica was being told to open its borders without conditions, I would understand the panic. If Jamaica was being asked to carry all the costs and all the risks while receiving nothing in return, I would understand the panic. But this is not what has been presented to the Jamaican people. What has been presented is a discussion that is going on, a negotiation. And negotiations are not won before they begin. They are won at the negotiation table. The truth is, every government eventually learns the same lesson. The United States is too important to ignore. Well, here's the truth as well. Jamaica is too important to be taken for granted. The United States know that. Small as we are, that balance is where good leadership lives. And that is why I am less interested in the headlines and more interested in the details. Less interested in the fear and more interested in the terms. Less interested in the politics and more interested in the outcome. Because if this agreement protects Jamaica, benefits Jamaica, strengthens Jamaica, and keeps Jamaica safe, then history may judge it very differently than social media does today. And if it does not, then Jamaica should have the courage to say no. The reality is simple. Not every agreement deserves a yes, but not every proposal deserves a panic attack either. For now, let us ask for the facts. Let us ask for transparency. Let us ask for accountability. But let us also remember that strong countries are not built by fear. Strong countries are built by leaders who know when to stand firm and when to negotiate and when to put their nation's interests above the noise. Because, listen, at the end of the day, friends, this is not about America. It's not even so much about deportees. This is not even about the Prime Minister Andrew Holness or the opposition leader Mark Olin. This is about one question. In a changing world, can Jamaica think strategically instead of emotionally? Because the answer to that question may determine far more than this agreement ever will. Jamaica, the plane has not yet landed. The deal has not, as far as I know, been signed yet. And the facts are still emerging, right? The facts are still emerging. So before we lose our heads, let us first use them. And that is why, even now more than ever, Jamaica, we need to talk. This has been, my friends, Dear Jamaica, we need to talk. One nation, one country, evolving, standing firm, prospering under God. Until next time, see you then.
Dear Jamaica,
Here we come,
one people, one nation.